Well, it's that time. We want to welcome you tonight to another community social justice time to address issues of really import to our community. And welcome to all of you who are gathering with us tonight. And as you've seen from our uh, little preview there have been a number of issues tackled by community social justice. And I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Shannon Dixon for doing such a tremendous job, and Miss Eva McMillan over social justice at House of Hope, Greater Travelers Rest. Our community really does matter, and community social justice is an issue. There have been issues on schools, voter suppression, policing, census, Divine Nine, voter mobilization, domestic violence, a host of issues. But tonight we have a great time in store for you. We will be dealing with some candidates who would like to represent district number 90. There were a number of people who qualified for that position. Deandra Hines, Angela Moore, Valerie Murphy, Greg Shealy, Joel Thubelow, Stan Watson, and Ed Williams. And we have a couple of those tonight. And I will go ahead and I guess introduce our first panelist, the lovely Miss Angela Moore, who is no stranger to DeKalb County. And I'll let her introduce herself as we get to know these people who are to fill the State Representative District 90, the seat that Pamela Stevenson held and was ill and was not able to continue serving. And that election is going to be on February the 5th. And the borderlines, and I'll let you go ahead and start, Miss Angela.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us. This is a very great forum and place to be able to speak during such a time when we can't get out into the crowd. So thank you all for having us here. I'd like your viewers to know that I'm Angela Moore, and I am running to become the next state representative here in District 90. I am a 25 plus year, and I'm not sure if I'm 27 or 28 year resident of DeKalb County. I am an advocate for social issues here. I think I've proven myself time and time again. I am a business owner. I've been in business for more than 22 years here in DeKalb County, Georgia. I am a celebrated and an award-winning international publicist. I also have a small cooking school where at this time we're down, but we are still producing our champagne jelly that you can order on our website. I have worked with the DeKalb Democratic Party for years. I served as their communications chair. I have been on different boards, and I've also, more relevantly, have served as the House District Chair for District 90 alongside with Pam Stevenson, which I might add, I have received a recommendation from the Georgia General Assembly, as well as awards from the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Governor for my service to the state of Georgia. I do believe that with a lot of my qualifications and all of the boards, including the YMCA Child Care Academy, I do believe that I have enough and I have what it takes to be able to be your next state representative and effect change in the state of Georgia and in my district, as I always have.
Thank you, Ms. Angela Moore. And at this time, we will also have Mr. Stan Watson to come on and introduce himself. And then after that, I'm going to go back to you, Ms. Moore, and let you lay out your platform. But I would just introduce yourself at this time, if you would, Mr. Stan Watson.
Okay, thank you, sir, Mr. Randall. I appreciate it. Thank you for this medium of support that you're reaching out into our community, especially in a time such as this. The COVID restrictions has given us an opportunity to find different ways to get our message out to the people. My name is Stan Watson. I'm a former legislator. I've served on the state and local level. I started out in politics as president of a homeowner association over in Emerald Estates. I served in 1984 as secretary of the Democratic Party, appointed and helped get elected by Emanuel Malouf. I've been in DeKalb County since 1976, and I know that I don't look that old, but I've been here since 1976. I've served on the library board as a trustee. I worked with the YMCA. I worked in our community. I've coached basketball. I've done a number of things. But I served 10 years, I think, admirably in the state legislature. I was the chair of the DeKalb House delegation for 10 years, elected by my peers. And also, I was the chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, which is the largest Black caucus in America, for 2 years as well. And I was also elected to that position by my peers. I'm a layperson at my church at House of Hope, Greater Travelers Rest, where I serve as deacon and also sing in the male chorus. Looking to return back to the Georgia General Assembly because there's some things that are coming up and that are happening right now while we're sitting here that we need to address. And I'll come back at that time and point of time and talk about the platform that I'd like to see done again here in Georgia, and more importantly, in House District 90.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And for those of you that are joining us, we do invite you to chat and give us your questions. If you have questions, particularly if you have some things that you want addressed tonight, we would welcome that input. Thanks to technology, we can have that type of interaction. And I would like to say that, again, we did reach out to other candidates, and we thought at least one other candidate was going to be with us tonight who is not with us. But we're excited that we have the candidates that are here tonight. And at this time, I would like for you all to individually, if you would start us off. Since I started with Ms. Moore the first time, I am going to start with you and switch it up a little bit. If you would spend 2 minutes and just give us your major platform issues that you are running. What is your major platform issue that you would like to tell the community about?
So you started with me this time?
I start with you, Stan Watson.
Okay, all right. Basically, I like to talk about a few issues. First, it would be access to health care. I think we need to expand Medicaid in Georgia. There are a number of Georgians that are uninsured, and I think that health care crisis that we're facing with coronavirus shows us that we need to make sure that our low income and our health care is taken care of in our state. And so I would like to, first of all, have access to health care and expand Medicaid. I also would like to provide a distribution to help to make sure that we have COVID relief, because I think right now from the federal government as a pass-through, our state needs to do a better job with the COVID relief and make sure that we have distribution of the vaccine and those kind of things. As it relates to economic development, I think that we need to make sure that we're not passed over by the state. The state Georgia Department of Economic Development has been passing over DeKalb County and sending a lot of the jobs over to Newton County and to the south to LaGrange and to Henry County. I think that we need to get a piece of that pie as well. I think that the biggest thing that we're going to probably be faced with again is the Voting Rights Act and voting rights legislation. I think that's going to be a huge fight. Even though the Republicans were in charge, they are still upset that we beat them at their own game because we went out and voted absentee and made sure that we were able to play by the rules and get people elected. And so I think there'll be an ideal change that they'll try to make by adding maybe IDs to absentee voting and those kind of things. And then secondly, I think we have to work with reapportionment and making sure that we have configured the lines for our state, local, and locally elections and those things. So those are just a few of the things that I would like to expound on right now and see if we can take care of those kind of things when we return to the General Assembly.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And at this time, we would invite you, Ms. Moore, to give us your major platform issues. If you could spend 2 minutes doing that, we would be appreciative. We cannot. Okay, let's do something about your sound. Can you hear me? Nod your head if you can.
Okay.
There you go.
I don't know how I got unmuted.
Yeah.
All right. Well, being a dedicated and good Democrat, my platform is not too far from Stan's. I am certainly acute to the need of having affordable health care or access thereof. And I understand that we do not have that ability with the Republican governor that we have, but we now have two new senators, U.S. senators, and hopefully those things will change. So, with my help when in the General Assembly, I do believe that I can help that way. Affordable housing is one of my major concerns. Right now, we have people who are losing their homes. Uh, they're on the verge of being set out soon. We're going to have a major pandemic when that occurs. So, trying to help people to have access to affordable housing, the retention of their house. We have an employment problem that we have got to help resuscitate. I do believe that the Georgia General Assembly has the ability to help in that manner as well, and I'd like to be in that number. We have a criminal justice system that needs reform. We have economic development. And for me, in that, economic development for me is really education. And as we have learned in the last 8 to 10 months, we have people who are essential workers, and these kids who choose not to go back to a 4-year traditional college are choosing and opting to go to the technical colleges. These people certainly are and have been, and we are recognizing them very well now as essential workers. They're also the first line that would go back and become business owners, home health aid nurses. We need that. Our mechanics are very important. Our masonry people, electricians, plumbers, all this, trying to make that education in a technical college free would be one of my number one platforms there. I have issues on the criminal justice side as well, human trafficking. I mean, these are important to men, women, blacks, whites, Jews, Gentiles, anyone. So mine are no different than any real Democrat, but how would we go in and to reform them? And I do agree with Stan again with the reapportionment. This is the year where the special session will go back in and they will reapportion these districts. Well, they have to be fair, absolutely fair. And with the help of our U.S. senators pushing for fairness in all quadrants of Georgia, I think that my ability to be able to reach across the aisle with Republicans and Democrats is essential. And I think that I have that ability to do that. So everything that we've talked about so far is important right now. They're hot button issues and we have to address them.
Fantastic. And we would again welcome any chat questions. We would love for you to participate on that. And I just want to say, look at it. How will you make sure your priorities are included in the state budget? How will you make sure that your priorities would be included in the state budget?
Is that for me?
And I will start with, guess what? We will start with you, Miss Angela. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, like I said, I don't think that it's much of a problem of how I will get it done. I have the ability to work with all people. I have friends and supporters at Republican. I think I have the ability to reach across the aisle. I know almost every one of the legislators there, the new and the old ones, and I think that I have a way of putting things to where it would be crafted in a way that would be fair and honest and above board, clear and transparent. And I believe that we could find middle ground. I do believe I'm an excellent negotiator, and I think that I could get that job done.
Thank you. And that same question to you, Mr. Watson.
Well, I'm a former legislator. I served on appropriations for 4 years, and so I understand the budget process. Matter of fact, I passed 10 budgets as a state legislator, so I understand the budget process and how to get priorities done. Basically, it is, as Angela said, you have to work across the aisle, but you also have to make sure that your priorities are those that are priorities of others as well. So it's important that you understand the dichotomy of the state. You have to understand what goes on in the different parts of the states, because that's important to make sure that your priorities are the priorities of those other people around the state. a lot of people don't understand that it takes 91 votes to pass anything in the Georgia General Assembly. You're just one of 180 people. And in order to get your priorities taken care of and done, those priorities have to be affected in the minds of 91 other people. And it's hard to get 91 other people to feel the same way that you do about your community unless you feel the same way they do about the community of Savannah, or the community of Albany, or Dahlonega, or Dalton, or Valdosta. And once you understand the needs of their community, you show them the needs of your community, and your priority become their priorities, and you work together to make sure that those things that you need in the budget are taken care of, and those things become your priorities, and you bring the bacon back home to your respective community.
Thank you so much. I am going to get to some of the differences between you two guys, but because this week we just inaugurated a new chapter in American politics, a new chapter in Georgia politics. We just elected Joe Biden and 2 senators, Raphael Warnock and Senator Ossoff. That has come with a price, because there are Republican legislators that have been very, very vocal because Georgia has not gone Democratic since 24 years. And so they blame this change, this switch up to absentee ballots used by 1.3 million Georgians who voted from home during this coronavirus pandemic. In all, we know 5 million people voted. That was a number in Georgia for an election decided by just a few thousand votes. But one of the things that they're saying, because of the widespread absentee voting, they want it to come to an end, because they now want to eliminate the no excuse absentee voting. They want to eliminate ballot drop boxes. There was a lawsuit that was filed right before Christmas to eliminate the drop boxes, and it was thrown out of court in Fulton County the day before Christmas. Some of his lawyers were fighting real hard for election protection. They're fighting against unsolicited absentee ballot applications being mailed. Now, these are some proposals that, this is hot. This is what's right there before us in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
And I'm going to ask each of you, and I'm going to go with Ms. Moore. And what do you see that you can do as a legislator to deal with this issue and your district, and how it will be impacted, and how the state of Georgia will be impacted?
Well, I don't think this is just a my district thing, but we'll go from there. Well, as you know, and I'm sure you do, I ran for Georgia Secretary of State. I was the first woman of color ever to do so, constitutional position. In that, I have gone across the entire state. I've made new friends, I've met old friends, and I understand when they tell me that their votes won't be counted. I think I ran on the platform of improve it with a paper note because of the voting machine irregularities across the state of Georgia. We are one of the last states in the union that has not gotten a paper receipt. So how proud am I? And I'm sure Stacey Abrams is just as proud that we have a ballot that I think lots of us have been trying to push people to do. It is proof positive that our votes count. They cannot be amended. They can't be destroyed. The new Secretary of State, though he's Republican, he has put some things in process where you can go and check to see if your ballot has come in. And they give you enough time to be able to get that ballot in. As a legislator, I would not change a thing outside of the balloting, the absentee ballot. It is one of the greatest resources that Georgia has ever had when it comes to democracy. You prove it with a paper note. And if more of us would do that, I think that we would have a better system because we don't know for sure if these voting machines are fallible or infallible. We've spent millions of dollars on these machines, millions of dollars, and we can't prove that our votes count inside of a voting machine, but we can prove it there with a paper note. And so, with our signed signature and our paper ballot, and with the resources that the new Secretary of State has in force, I think that that is a great thing. I would push to keep what we have now. It is the most secure way of voting, as long as people do it the correct way. They must sign their ballots. I think we need more education in that area if we're going to protect our democracy.
All right. Mr. Watson, would you do that, please?
Same question.
Yes, same question.
Well, I think that it's going to be a tough fight, and it's going to be a tough fight today in the legislative process for voting rights. We have to remember that right now the Republican governor, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate has control of the Georgia legislature. When that happens, it takes a person to deal with the conscience and the ego of the persons that are down in the General Assembly. I.e., I was there when we changed the flag. It takes a special kind of person to talk to another person about the differences that we have in order to make changes in our lifestyles. And we were able to do that when we changed the state flag from the bar to the stripe to what we have today. We're going to have to do the same thing with our voting rights. And because we're the country that tell the world that you should be able to vote. We send Jimmy Carter and other people out to monitor voting in different countries. And here they're trying to restrict our voting and ballot access here in Georgia. We didn't make the rules. The Republicans made the rules. We just played by the rules. And we voted overwhelmingly in great numbers by absentee ballot. You allowed us, as you stated earlier, Randall, that we were allowed to vote from home. So I think that we're going to have to do a great deal of negotiation and twisting of arms to make sure that we can have ballot access when we go back into the General Assembly. And that's going to take a person that understands the process of legislation, the process of talking to other people, the process of negotiation, also a process of going across the aisle and talking to your friends to make sure we can make those changes prevalent in our society and in the state of Georgia.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. This is a question that one of our participants online is sent in asking, and this will get more in particular. Says, what have you done in your service to the community that people of District 90 can see and feel? What have you done? Be specific as you can.
Am I
and
starting?
I'll start with you this time, Stan.
I thought you flipped the script
We'll
again.
Take you off guard.
Oh, you kept me off guard. Okay. Well, basically, as a legislator and as a public servant, I tried to do a lot in the community, not just be a legislator. I always tried to make sure that I felt the needs of the community. Every Christmas, I used to do boxes for the seniors. Every Thanksgiving, I gave away turkeys to the community and to churches. Provided breakfast meetings for 18 years to the community. Sponsored cleanups in and around Flat Shoals, Wesley Chapel. Made sure that we took care of our foster kids in school. I tried to do as much as I could as a legislator and an elected official so that people could feel and see what we tried to do. Once doing those kind of things, you could reach the people and the people could tell you what they needed from you as a legislator or a public servant. And those are the kind of things that I made sure that I did. I also served as parliamentarian of my PTA at Narva J. Harris and Champion Middle School. And so those kind of things I've done as a legislator for service-wise, and work with the Boy Scouts as well to make sure that I be part of the community.
Thank you. And I'll ask Ms. Moore that same question. If you would, what have you
Tell
done?
you, you can always tell a community serving.
I'm sorry.
You can always tell a community servant. We've traveled in the same circles. I was a Girl Scout. I started out as a brownie. I became a leader. And that took years to get there. Okay. I sold movies and anyone else you could think of. I tried to start a Girl Scout troop at my church, County Line, United Methodist Church. I've served on the Georgia Regional Youth Detention Center Board. I've served on the YMC Child Care Academy. I've worked with Georgia Medical Institute and the Advanced Career Institute as one of their advisory boards. I think that I have changed many lives by being a premier foster parent. I fostered more than 19 children in my own home. I became a safe home for children. I think I've advocated for children, battered women. One of my most endearing programs are two in DeKalb, well, one in DeKalb, which is besomeone.org with Orrin. I think everyone knows Orrin. His platform is to save children, his guns before bullets and bullies and all that. I've helped him get his information out to the media so that they know that he exists in DeKalb County. And that is one of my go-to organizations. My other go-to organization, of course, is Jose Feed the Hungry. We have a lot of people who are feeding the hungry, but we don't have a lot of people who are feeding the African Americans and helping them get jobs and helping them look good. Put your thing back on so I can see you while I'm telling you this. I have, so I think that Georgia needs that we need to have someone to teach us how to dress and how to get your hair cut and to pull you off the street, feed you, but also help you to get a resume together as well. They just didn't throw the food at you. They help you be able to put food on your own table. They help people to get to get an apartment or a home of their own. So we need Hosea Feeds the Hungry, and I'm one of their biggest advocates on top of everything that they do. Each year, we would collect underwears for little girls who we deemed girls who sit in dirt in other countries. And we would get 18 to 20,000 pairs of underwears, and we would send them to them. I think I have affected my community in many ways, as well as my elected officials, I might add. I do believe that 80% of them, I was involved in their campaign and never took a dollar because I believed in them. And I wanted to make sure that my elected officials that I thought were good for the office were elected. And I don't think there's very many of them out there that could tell you that I have not helped them in some way, shape, or form become elected. And once they were, I supported them in whatever endeavor, including Stan
Fantastic.
Watson.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to
helped you.
I'm going to ask. I'm sorry. Hello.
We're here.
What was that?
Okay, let me ask another question.
I didn't hear you.
I think I'm having a little technical difficulty.
Okay.
But we can hear you.
You can hear me, but I can't see you, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll get it back. Okay, let me ask another question. And this is going to deal with some of the economics. How will you ensure that Black businesses will have access to some of the state contracts? We have several billions of dollars in the state of Georgia from revenue going across the state of Georgia. And it has been as low as 2% when African Americans represent and voting, over 30-something%, up to 35 and or more in certain elections. But we enjoy very little of those state contracts. What can you specifically do to ensure that Black businesses have access to some of these state and local contracts?
Who are we going to first this time?
And this time we'll go with Ms. Moore. Thank you for asking that question.
Okay. Well, I am so glad somebody finally addressed that issue. Black businesses, and I'm just going to say minority businesses because that includes half of my Latino roots and half of my Black roots. We have not because we know not. We've not had a legislator in their district talk to people about what's available and step by step on how to get it. I have been that person in my district, so I know no one has really held my hand. As a legislator, what I'd like to do within my own office is be able to offer a resource, a business resource in my office. When this PPP thing came up, when it first came out, everybody jumped on it. In the first 2 weeks, everybody got it, regardless of what happened. 3 weeks later, it became regulated, then it became isolated, then it became ghost, and you couldn't get it unless you had something. So I think that if we had more education from our legislators in our district, if each legislator took care of their district and told them what needs to be done, which is education in itself, and education and knowledge is power. So I'd like to be able to educate my district on that. Hold forums, open up my doors and let them know that they can come to my office and get every piece of business information that they can, but they have not because they know not.
And Mr. Stan Watson, would you answer that same question? How would you ensure that Black businesses have a fair shot at access to some of these state and other contracts?
Well, first thing, in my past life as a legislator, I worked with the Georgia Minority Development Corporation. I think their end lies where we need to work with. That is the arm of the state government that actually certifies minority businesses, develop minority businesses, even give them information on minority business and advocate for minority businesses. I think we need to put more funding there. It's run by a minority entity. It's ran by a minority woman at this time. But the problem I think sometimes that we have with the Georgia Minority Development Corporation is funding from the state. So we need to increase state funding there. You and I know we both worked with the Georgia Minority Contractor Association for a number of years in the state of Georgia. One of the problems that we have there, again, is funding. There is not a lot of money that's going into our budget that helps with our Black businesses, and especially with those organizations that can help Black businesses. So the Georgia Development Minority Contractors didn't have a lot of business because we didn't have a lot of funding for them to show that we could do those things that's most important, i.e. bonding, making sure now in a COVID environment that we had PPE priorities for them, understanding prompt payment laws and making sure that if you're a business that you got paid on time, making sure that they are meeting today's challenges with cyber attack awareness, making sure that we can facilitate partnership with the Fortune 500 companies. We have over 450 Fortune 500 companies right here in Georgia. We had to make sure that we partner with the Georgia Black Chamber. When Lou Walker was around, we made sure that we worked with him. Now they're not doing as much work. So those are the kind of things that we have to do to promote minority business development, to put more money in it so that we can have interaction with the buyers, with the consumers. We can have a training program with university help and make sure that we're turning a dollar in our community. But we have to put more money into the Georgia the Georgia Development Corporation at the state level in order for us to do a better job with those kind of things. And I just have to say for the record, the reason that some businesses fail dealing with the state is because they can't satisfy the funding, the certification, they don't want to be developed, and we need to make sure that they're ready to reach the avenues that we need for them to meet to work with the big companies that we have in the state of Georgia.
Well, you raised that question, Mr. Watson. How can we help our businesses with bonding? We got Splash, we got not only with the state, we got money right here in DeKalb County with Splash. We passed with the paving of our roads. We got money. We are a very wealthy county right here in DeKalb County. But and I'm going to ask this same question to you. How can we eliminate the impediments that our businesses are facing so that we can actually get something done?
Well, I think that you're right. DeKalb has a great number of programs right now. They have the LSBE program, but you said that one thing is real important. We have over $1 billion in our combined sewer overflow program that we have in DeKalb to repair the sewers. And so those money were supposed to go to the least of these in our community to make a difference in the funding for minorities, even in the state. But I think the correlation, Randall, is that we don't have the meetings, even though they could be virtual now, even before the pandemic started, we don't have the meetings between the state and local level officials that we should have. We all operate in a vacuum or in a silo. We don't meet with our local state don't meet with the county commissioners, and they don't meet with the legislature. We're operating in a silo, so we don't have the information. So I think the way that we make money for our minorities is that we have to make sure that they can get certified, that we can develop them, that we can find money to make sure that we can correct the errors of their ways, and that we can advocate for them to find the things that they need to make sure that they're a viable company to make money with the Fortune 500 company. And then the most important thing I like to say is that once they get the jobs and get the jobs with the state or with the county, that they're paid on time. Because a lot of times when they get the jobs, we know that some of the checks come in are the checks that they need to pay their bills, but also to pay the bills inside their family homes. And so prompt payment is a big thing, I think, for our minority businesses. And it will behoove us to make sure that the county and the state and the Fortune 500 companies pay these guys on time and these ladies on time.
Thank you, sir. And Miss Angela Moore, with you, bonding is just one impediment. Do you have what would you specifically, how can you eliminate some of these impediments that face Black businesses?
Well, all of that's fine and good for medium-sized businesses, is what you speak of. But for small businesses, and we have probably 10,000 per minute coming along now since COVID has started. People are starting their own small business. I'm not chug-a-lugging myself, but I'm chugging along with my champagne jelly, and it's doing pretty well. But if I was just starting out, I couldn't even apply for a PP loan for that. So when there's so many barriers, what you speak of is a medium-sized business. I'm talking about small businesses that are the backbone of our economy right here in our district, not just the state of Georgia. Medium business has always had access to everything. One of the largest restaurants that I've ever known, Cheesecake Place, they've been in business for 80 years and they got a PPP loan and they're crying foul because, if you're in business for 80 years, you should be able to make it 6 months. So I think we have got to be able to educate our constituents, being able to go in. Right now, we have really no idea which way this thing is going to go. We're on an uprise right now. We have no idea how many more businesses are going to close. And even the bigger businesses or the medium size are closing and the smaller ones are opening. I have so many people that call me and ask me, how am I going to get my business? First, go to Secretary of State. Get up your $150. I'm giving this education to people. Resources, where can you go? They can't apply for a traditional loan. They're not going to be able to do it. Other ways that they will be able to, and the business here in DeKalb County, he's right. There's millions of dollars sitting there. Nobody can get it. One, they're not screaming out of the wazoo about telling anybody where it is. And then when they find it, they can't get it because there's too many stipulations there. Remove some of these barriers. That's number one. Bringing in money for all these medium-sized companies is wonderful, but what about the people who are coming out of these technical colleges? What about our barbers who want to reopen and our hairstylists that want to reopen, and some of these young ladies and men who are medical aides who want to start their own traveling companies to come out and wash your parents, feed them every day. These are the people who need the resources. So how to do it is probably more education. It's up to the legislator to go out and find it, because right now we really don't have a clear plan on it. We're going to have to play it by ear. Where can we get this money for their education and partner with all of the different resources available and become a resource center for your constituents in your district? That's really how it's going to have to work.
Yes, surely we on the education piece. In that regard, as specifically as you can, how we can eliminate some of these barriers, but in line with that, how can you keep the needs of the people in District 90 abreast to what's going on as a legislator? You're going to be elected February the 5th. And when
it's February 9th. February 9th. February 9th.
I'm sorry, the election is February the 5th.
Early voting. Okay.
Early voting has already begun.
and then and then hopefully, as soon as you're elected, how will you stay in touch in this coronavirus environment with the people of the District 90?
Well, I think that's a really great question because right now, we have electronic means, which doesn't hit District 90, and the greater portion of District 90 has senior citizens. They're not looking at their emails. They probably don't even have an email. What I suggested quite a while ago is to put out mailers to them. Now, every representative has a budget, and I think that we need to reappropriate our budget to be able to reach our entire district, send them a newsletter. If that's where we're going to put some money, let's put the money into reaching out to them. We can't go knock on their doors. We can't assemble. We can't have big meetings anymore. So I say that we just take some of our budget and put it into a mailer and let them know what's happening. Give them the option to contact you. And that way, people without an email address, without internet, Twitter, Instagram, they can reach you. Anything you can mail out, you can also put on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. But get it out to their address first.
And Brother Stan, what do you have to say about that? Keeping up with the needs of the district, and do this. Most of District 9 is South DeKalb, but what are I didn't do this earlier, but what are the geographic areas that covers?
Well, the District 9 covers mostly DeKalb County, but it borders on the east one precinct in Rockdale and goes to the south, Henry County. So it has three counties that comprises District 90, and that is a result of reapportionment. Believe it or not, back Randall, when you and I served, remember they tried to keep the Democrats in charge, so we came up with a post system where it was post 1, post 2, and post 3. And Pam Stevenson and I and Howard Mosby had post 1, 2, and 3, and we had DeKalb, Rockdale, and Henry County. And that's how we came up with what we have now. But the Republicans, and what was most important is the Republicans now know that going back into reapportionment, they're going to try to keep DeKalb County spread out because it's the basis or the hot basis for the blue vote or the Democratic vote for this particular region. And we can tell by that from what we did with the U.S. Senate race. But more importantly, Angela's right. We can't do the big meetings that we used to have all the time, because you remember for 18 years I did a community cabinet breakfast for about 200 or 300 people every Saturday morning, every first Saturday morning, with great information for our people. But as a legislator, I also did my newsletter, so I would probably return back to using the newsletter, and we do have a cachet of money that we use for our newsletter to keep the people informed. But I think that's going to probably be the best avenue that we can use to keep them informed until we get past this COVID vaccine. And that's why it's so important that I keep saying that we need to work on COVID relief with the federal government. But the legislative letter and newsletter, those kind of things that we need to do, and also public service announcement with our papers and also with our radio stations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have now been joined by Dr. Greg Shealy, and we are so glad that you were able to join us. And I'm not sure how we're looking on time right now, but at least tell us a little about who you are, and we'll go from there. Introduce yourself first, and I will have another question after that. Just tell us who you are briefly, if you could. 2 minutes at least.
Thank you. My name is Greg Shealy. I'm an entrepreneur, author, and a husband, and I have a passion for my community. A bit about me. I'm a former educator in the DeKalb County school system, but for the last 17 years, I've built a business in this community. And over that time, I've hired over 100 people and contractors. And we've also been awarded over $30 million in contracts. So the reason why I tell you that is because I see a need for economic development here in District 90. And if we ever notice, we have a lack of a thriving commercial base. And there's a reason for that. And I think I have a plan. I have created a plan, a blueprint for other companies to follow. And I think that it can benefit business organizations and individuals in our community. I feel that I'm the most prepared candidate that can bridge the gap between smart legislation and economic progress in District 90. My top 3 priorities in the community. One, of course, will be economic development. Two is COVID relief for frontline workers, especially for frontline workers, and voter protection reform.
Just so for the benefit, we're sorry that you weren't able to join us when we started, but give us your top three, and then we're going to go back to a round robin. Your top three priorities for your platform.
Economic development, COVID relief, especially for frontline workers, and voter protection.
Fantastic. And we've talked about voter protection because of the atmosphere that we're in right now. But certainly, thank you. I'm going to ask this question of all three of you guys. How can you bring more resources to District 90? How can you bring more resources to District 90? And Mr. Gregg, you've been absent, so I'll let you start with that very briefly. We only have about 12 more minutes, so I'm giving you the first chef on that, but in 1 minute or less.
Great question, and I look at it in different ways. In terms of bringing more resources, I think we need to go out and get the resources. So I think we need to work with local businesses, individuals, and organizations to go after funding for different programs and products and things and services that are needed in our community. This is things that I've done for my business over the last 17 years. These are things that I think could benefit our community. So something else is, I think we need set-asides for any type of funding that comes into your community. I think we need at least a 20% set aside that's similar to the LSB program that is in DeKalb County. So I believe if we have any funding that comes down from the state or federal government, we should have set aside for businesses, organizations, individuals in our community to build upon what they have.
Ms. Angela, how would you bring more resources? And I want to correct that. We only have, we don't have that much more time. 1 minute, and I'm going to let you guys wrap up. 1 minute for you.
Partnership, and more partnership. Bringing in funding is fine, but partnership, because a legislator just doesn't have time to be able to handle everybody's business. We can give them the education that they need. We can give them knowledge, the power, but partnership, because where are you going to go once you tell them what they need to do? So partnership all across the state. You're in a whole room with 189 people. 86. Okay, I'm in there somewhere. Of legislators, most of them are business owners, or they have great resources. So partnership. It's important for your legislator to know these. And as a small business owner, of course, I have a way of finding out who the partnership should be with. There are all types of organizations, but you've got people right there that can help you right in your front line. Those are right inside of the state capitol that can help you with that. You can take it to your office and spread it to your district.
Thank you. Mr. Stan, 1 minute or less, please. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Are you hear me now?
I hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I would think that first we look at the resources in our community. District 90 is mostly is a residential district, and it doesn't have a lot of commercial entities in it, i.e. factories or large box businesses, except the stores like, the Walmarts and those kind of things. So I would probably look at the district again and see what we have in Henry County and those kind of places, because the district as it relates to DeKalb County is not that many commercial. But one of the things I think will help our district is a bill that we could pass, and that is a minimum wage bill of $15 to make sure that we help to push economic development in our community that way. And I think once we start putting money in people's pocket, they can also start with the business entities that we need, and then bring the legislative dollars to our community as well.
Okay, I want a 1 sentence answer. What can we do about no-knock warrants? Someone just has continued to press that in front of me. What can we do about no not warrants?
I think that's one of the things that we'll do in our criminal justice reform package.
Mr. Seeley?
Get rid of qualified immunity. We get rid of qualified immunity, you'll see a lot less no-knock warrants.
All right, Miss Angela?
Freeze up. Me, I think that would be with reform as well. Gathering your sheriffs and your police chiefs and the Black Caucus, and forming committees to be able to do this amendment.
1 minute, guys. We have so many other questions that people are really wanting to answer, but I want you to tell us why you are the better candidate than other persons that are running, and what distinguishes you from the other two people that are on this call tonight. And I'm going to start with you tonight, Miss Angela, and thank you.
Well, I do believe, since I've had my foot in the community, really in the back door of the community, I think that I have a better grasp of what's going on between the young and the new businesses, the young and the old. I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll. I think that I believe in clear and concise government. I honestly believe in honesty in government and clarity. I don't know Mr. Shealy, so I can speak on him. I think that I have a better grasp with the younger and more innovative business owners and community members here. Unfortunately, I don't have a shady past. I don't have a past at all like that. So I think that I would be a little bit more approachable. We are not in the year of the woman. We are in the era of the woman. And what we know for sure is women don't stop until we get it done. I think that that is me. And I think that I would affect change, real change.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask that same question of you, Mr. Watson.
Okay,
your
yeah.
statement, your 1 minute.
This is a 1 minute closing statement.
Yes.
I would probably say that there are a lot of good choices in the race, I think, and everyone has a right to run, but I'm probably the best choice because of dedication, experience, and leadership. I've been a state representative before. I've served on the state and local level, and I served in responsible positions. I've been chair of the DeKalb House delegation. I've been chair in the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. I've served on appropriations, health and human services, special judiciary, and other reasonable and accountable positions. I think at this time we need an experienced person that's going to work with our reapportionment. It's going to work with criminal justice reform, make sure with my healthcare background from tenant and matrix, be able to deal with COVID reform and those kinds of things that's going to happen at the General Assembly. It's going to be fast paced because there's going to be a special session for reapportionment, and that person needs to have the dedication, experience, and leadership to get it done. And I think that person is Stan Watson.
Thank you. And Mr. Shealy, with Dr. Shealy, with you, give us your 1 minute, please. What makes you the best candidate and what distinguishes you? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I echo with what Mr. Watson said. There's a lot of good candidates in the race, but I believe that I think I'm the best candidate for the job. Let me get right to the point. I just say vote Greg Shealy. And once I'm elected, I guarantee you that I'll be working hard every day for District 90. I do understand that we have a lot of issues in our community, but I strongly believe a lack of economic development is our most pressing issue. And once we tackle this, get a grasp of economic development and start changing the trajectory of our community, there are other things that will happen. We'll reduce crime, we'll create better schools, and we'll create a better overall community. Again, before I was an entrepreneur, I was an educator in the DeKalb County school system. I've created a company that has hired over 100 people or in contractors. I believe that I'm the best candidate to can bridge the gap between smart legislation and the benefits of our community. I have not been in politics, but I have worked for government for 17 years. So a lot of times we see what's going on in our community, and a lot of times the politician takes credit for it, and they ought to take credit for it. But I'm the guy, the company behind the scenes that's doing the work. I'm the one who's getting the work done. So I asked for your vote on February 9th. Vote Greg Shealy.
Fantastic,
Beautiful.
fantastic. We want to really thank you guys for your time.
I'm
We
sorry.
want to thank our great audience. They had some questions about job creation and a number of other questions that people are really interested in. But we just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. There's going to be hot button issues down at the legislature. It's going to be hot. I mean, you got people being fired from their chairmanship because they've taken positions for 45. You got all types of issues, and we've talked about them tonight. And everyone, we just invite you to continue to keep up with community social justice. And again, I'd like to shout out to those people that make this happen, Mr. Shannon Dixon and Ms. Eva McMillan, Social Justice at the House of Hope, Greater Travelers Rest, and a host of other people that make this happen. Dr. Brother Smith, a number of people. But thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will, at this time, Mr. Shannon, we're going to turn it over to you and let you give a closeout tonight and some of the programs that are coming ahead so people can look out for them and maybe help us with some of these community forums that need to be done. But thank you so much. There she is, Sister DeShannon. Why don't you go ahead and wrap us up and close us out? Thank you so much. And I don't know whether Miss Eva McMillan will come on, but thank you. Go ahead.
Well, we want to thank each and one of our guests because as Community Social Justice, we are dedicated to making sure you know what's happening at the heart of your needs. We want to vet our guests. We want to make sure that you get the information you need because sometimes you don't know who to trust, but you can trust Community Social Justice. The things that are coming up, we're going to be talking about the things that's close to you. We're going to talk about the vaccine coming up. Should you take it? You know, what's in it? You know, how is it affecting Black and brown people that live next door to you? We've got a lineup coming up this year that you don't want to miss. So go ahead and follow us, Community Social Justice ATL. We've got the things that matter most to you. And hey, if there's a subject you haven't seen, something you want us to talk about, shoot us a text, shoot us an email, DM us. Let us know what's important to you. Because if it's important to you, it's important to us. Until next Friday, thank you from Community Social Justice. Have a good night.
Good evening.